When it comes to cooking meals throughout the work week, for me, they gotta be healthy, they gotta be tasty, and they gotta have the least amount of effort as possible. You know, for when like the motivation is way down here, but the hanger is like way up here. So I'm gonna show you how to do just that with these two super delicious 20-minute meals. I'm covering two different noodly kind of recipes. One is an Asian-inspired noodle dish. The other is a totally delicious creamy pasta. They're minimal chopping, minimal prep work, minimal ingredients, maximal flavor, satisfaction guaranteed, or your money back. Just kidding, this video's free. It is really easy to get restaurant quality noodle dishes from the comfort of your own home. And now, while this ingredients list may look a little bit lengthy, I guarantee you have most of these ingredients already in your fridge and pantry. And whatever you don't have, you can easily sub out for some super simple swaps. All right, let's get right into these spicy peanut noodles. What you see before you here is a lot of flavor. So we're gonna start by making our spicy peanut sauce by adding a 1/4 cup of hummus into a bowl. This is gonna add creaminess and body. And then for some spiciness, we're gonna add a tablespoon of gochujang. And for the nutty factor, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of your favorite nut or seed butter. Now, if you don't have gochujang, you can sub it out for sriracha or garlic chili sauce. Next, we're gonna add a tablespoon of mirin, which is a sweet fermented Japanese cooking liquid. Speaking of sweetener, we're gonna add a tablespoon of maple syrup, and then we're gonna add some salty umami flavor with some soy sauce, or you can use gluten-free tamari if you're gluten-free. Then we're gonna add some rice vinegar to add a little bit of acidity, and then for extra flavor, we're gonna add garlic powder, onion powder, and a pinch of red chili flakes for a little bit of extra heat. Now we're just going to whisk that all together until you have a thick, creamy sauce, and depending on how thick it is, you can always thin it out with a little bit of water if you need to. Now we're just going to cook our ramen noodles. You can choose any kind of ramen noodle you like. For this recipe, I chose to go with rice noodles. And then once your noodles are about 5 or so minutes away from being done, you're gonna add the broccoli to cook along with the noodles until they're mostly cooked, but still have a little bit of crunch and firmness to them. Then once you've drained all the water, you can add the noodles and the broccoli right back into the pan, pour that delicious, spicy, nutty sauce over top, and then you're just going to stir that all together to combine. Make sure every noodle and every piece of broccoli is well coated in those noodles. And then lastly, you're just going to stir in some edamame that you've thawed out. And if you want, you can add some chopped extra firm tofu, and finally give everything a really good toss. I like to just let everything heat through, like the tofu and the edamame, in the pan for about 3 to 4 minutes until everything is nice and hot. And that is it. It's a super simple, quick noodle dish. Basically, it's done by the time your noodles have finished cooking. Anything that needs to be prepared, like the sauce or chopping broccoli, can be done while the noodles are cooking. This makes for such an easy, quick, and satisfying weeknight meal that the whole family will totally just gobble up. It is so satisfying. It is so full of flavor, and there's just so many amazing ways that you can kind of jazz it up to make it what you want. You can add extra spices, extra flavorings, you can add extra veggies, whatever feels good for you, like carrots or mushrooms or cauliflower. It's just kind of one of those customize as you wish kind of meals. And if you like your noodles extra saucy, you could even double the batch of sauce, or increase it by 50% depending on how you like to eat your noodles. And another healthy hack for you is that if you want to make this dish more high protein, you can swap out the white rice noodles in this recipe for brown rice ramen noodles, which is what I usually do, as I like to get lots of protein in my days, especially if I'm working out a lot. If you've got store-bought hummus or even homemade hummus in your fridge, you can totally put it to good use by making this creamy hummus pasta. Whatever hummus you choose to use will be just fine. And what's great about this recipe is if you like spicy stuff, you can use spicy hummus. If you've got roasted red bell pepper hummus, you can use that too. Any kind will do. This recipe is perfect if you just don't have the energy for lots of chopping. There is minimal chopping and prep work. You can use lots of different pantry and fridge staples, and this recipe is great if you are low on fresh ingredients. Another thing that I totally love about using hummus in pasta these days is that it almost gives off like this Alfredo creamy pasta vibe, but instead of using an Alfredo sauce, which is generally higher in fat, you're getting a super high protein, high fiber recipe because you're using hummus. Genius, right? Let's make this creamy hummus pasta. There are so many delicious little bits in these ingredients here. I cannot wait to show you guys. So this recipe is a great one to use silken tofu in. If you have a block of silken tofu and you don't know what to do with it, or you're just not feeling inspired, this is your recipe. Now we're gonna add the silken tofu and a cup of hummus into a blender, followed by some tomato paste. This is gonna add a nice kind of a rosé color to our sauce and also add a little bit of flavor and acidity. And then we're gonna follow that with some lemon juice just to kind of brighten up the sauce a bit. And then you're just going to blend that all together until it is a well combined pureed sauce. It's gonna look something like this, nice and creamy. And then we're gonna cook some pasta noodles. Get that water nice and salty, nice and boiling. And I like to use spaghetti, but you could truly use any pasta noodle that you like. Next, we're going to slice and dice some Roma tomatoes. Make sure they're nice and ripe and juicy. Slice them up, and then we're going to do the same with some fresh basil. If you don't have basil, you could use any other fresh herb. Parsley would be nice. Now we're gonna hop back over to the stove. We're going to taste test a noodle, make sure it is just about al dente, which it is, yay me. Now drain your noodles. I do like to reserve some pasta water just in case I find my sauce to be too thick. It's just always a good practice to get into when you're making pasta. Once you've removed the noodles, we're going to water saute those chopped Roma tomatoes. You could use oil if you want, just to kind of caramelize them and release some of their sweetness and their flavor. And then we're just gonna add everything back to the pan. We're gonna add the sauce, we're gonna add the noodles, and we're gonna add some chopped Kalamata olives and chopped sun-dried tomatoes, plus that fresh basil that we just chopped up. This is like a huge flavor explosion. We've got saltiness from the sun-dried tomatoes and the Kalamata olives. There's some healthy fats in there. There's so much flavor, and the fresh basil just adds the most amazing aromatic fragrance and flavor. And this is just so good, so good. Make sure the noodles and the sauce heat through once again. Make sure everything is nice and hot and steamy. Give the noodles a toss about every couple minutes, and then once everything is nice and cooked through and hot, probably about 6 or 7 minutes later, you can enjoy. I always like to serve mine with a few extra toppings, so if you have any extra olives or any extra chopped sun-dried tomatoes, you can sprinkle a few on as a nice garnish. You can top it off with some more fresh chopped basil, or even if you have some vegan Parmesan cheese shreds that you could put on top. I wish I had some when I filmed this. That would be so delicious. This meal is, oh my gosh, it is so filling. The hummus is like so great at making this meal really, really hearty and satisfying. It sticks to your ribs. It is so flavorful, and it's so easy and takes like literally hardly any time at all. Again, 20 minutes is all you need to make a totally restaurant quality pasta dish. If these 20-minute recipes are your jam, you should definitely check out this next video right up here, which is a high-protein pastas video. Great if you love pasta but want to make it high protein. Or you can check out this video right down here, which are 5-ingredient recipes, which are great for when you don't have a lot of time, not a lot of effort, and not a lot of ingredients in your house. I can't wait for you guys to check them out. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in another video soon. Bye!